Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 13 and compare it against the iPhone 12 and see which particular iPhone is a better one for you in 2025. Now, obviously, if you have all the money in the world, then going for the iPhone 13 is the better one, but there might be some better phones than these two, and there might be a clear answer here. So take a look at that throughout this whole entire video. First things first, if you want to pick up either the iPhone 13 or the iPhone 12, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there, and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these particular iPhones, the iPhone 12 came out back in 2020. So this year it will be turning, 5 years old, which is actually pretty insane, right? That's actually a pretty insane amount of time that this phone has been out. Now, when you take a look at this particular device, the big thing you're going to have to keep in mind here is that with the iPhone 12 on the front, you're getting a 6.1 inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. So that type of panel, it's still pretty decent, right? It's about the same thing as what you're getting on the iPhone 16s. It's 60 Hz, 1200 nits of brightness. Nothing crazy, but it's more or less what you'd expect from a phone from 5 years ago. With the iPhone 13, this is also kind of in the same realm as that particular iPhone. So with the iPhone 13, you're getting the same 6.1 inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. This time you are getting a little bit smaller notch. So the notch on these iPhones were just a tad bit smaller, which was kind of interesting. I think if you were to go through and pick up a device, that would be one of those things you'd kind of notice. Beyond that though, they're built basically the same. They have the same exact amount of brightness as well. So there really isn't even that big of a difference when it comes down to that side either. Now beyond that, on the bottom, they're both giving you flat sides on both with, the standard, lightning ports at the bottom, which I guess was nice to have on this type of device too. On top of that, you're still maintaining things like I mentioned before, like a, flat solid glass back. You're getting a dual camera setup on the back side as well, which is really nice to have. You're still maintaining things like wireless charging, MagSafe capability, and there's still a lot of stuff to kind of love about this type of phone, like both these phones. They both look great, they both feel great, and I do feel like if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, you genuinely can't go wrong too much with either one of these devices. I think they're both very solid, but I will keep this in mind that there are definitely better devices out there from a price tag standpoint that might be better than these two. And even when you take a look at devices nowadays, there are a lot of devices now that are giving you more features than these things. The newer iPhones are giving you ProMotion 1 displays with 120 Hz displays. All iPhones nowadays are giving you USB Type-C ports, and they're giving you frosted glass backs as well. So those things can be kind of things to kind of keep in mind here. If you were to go through and pick up a device, you might notice that, hey, with a device like the iPhone 13, there might be better devices out there from a price tag standpoint. So that might just be one of those small things to keep in mind there. But beyond that, I would still say for a lot of people out there, this type of device is still, both these are holding up fairly well. When it comes down to the price tag side though, one thing you're going to have to keep in mind is that with both of these iPhones, they're both less than $300 in the used market, which is nice to see. So whatever phone you're going to be getting, they're both going to be probably roughly around the same price. But the iPhone 12 is going to be cheaper at about $230 on Amazon. The iPhone 13 is about $295 on Amazon. So that right there could be a pretty big advantage for you. If, once again, you're planning on going through and picking up a device, you might notice that a device like the iPhone 13 might be more expensive, but it might be giving you more features and more things overall. So from that side as well, that kind of covers it up there. Now, when it comes down to their camera side, both these iPhones are very, very similar here in a lot of ways as well. So number one, both these iPhones are basically still going through and giving you this type of build. So, they're dual 12 megapixel sensors. So that's a nice thing, right? Being able to go through and grab those types of sensors on both these devices. That is a really nice thing to have. But a very big thing to keep in mind here is that within both these types of devices, you have to remember that, they're both 4K at 60 on the front and the back. And there are far more similarities as far as I can tell than there are differences here. Both these types of cameras are very, very similar. And if you were to go through and, use these types of phones from a camera perspective, you're probably going to notice that camera and the cameras on both are very, very similar. So not really too many differences there for the most part either. So I think that's a nice thing. You can go through and rest assured that you're going to be getting very good cameras. And even having 4K at 60 on the front, that is also a very nice thing to have there too. So I would say from a camera perspective, this phone definitely gets a thumbs up. And both these phones are really good there. Are they perfect? Probably not, but I do think they probably give you a pretty good run for their money from a performance perspective with their cameras. So from that side as well, that kind of covers it up there too. Now, when it comes down to their software longevity, this is also one of those things you're going to have to keep in mind. So within both these phones, they're both still supported with software. So they're not really going anywhere anytime soon, which is a nice thing to have. You can go through and basically have both these phones that are going to be supported with software for many, many years to come. So that is in and of itself a very nice thing to kind of keep in mind, because you're going to be able to go through and pick up both these phones that are still going to be supported with software, at least for like another 2 years. Now, it could be 1 year, could be 2 years, but considering that the 12 iPhone is the third in place to get drop support, even if Apple were to go ahead and drop support of 2 iPhones of this year, I think they would still go through and basically still support the iPhone 12. So I don't really see that iPhone going anywhere anytime soon. So kind of keep that in mind. But I definitely would look at a phone like the iPhone 13 as the one that's going to be lasting longer when it comes down to this side as well. And when it comes down to the battery life and the battery sizes, this was always one area where, Apple kind of did a better job in. So they actually went through and they gave us, a 2,815 milliamp battery inside of the iPhone 12, but inside of the iPhone 13, they actually ended up giving us 3,240 milliamp battery. So that was a pretty big jump in terms of the size. So getting like basically 400 extra milliamp hours, that was a really nice thing to have. And that definitely improved the battery life. Although nowadays on iOS 18, the battery lives are probably more similar, but it was still a really nice thing to basically have and kind of, get within these two types of devices. So I think that in and of itself was just another really nice thing going on for these types of devices when it came down to it too. And finally, when it came down to the performance, the iPhone 12 was giving you that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside with 4 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 13 was giving you that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside with 4 gigabytes of RAM as well. Now, I've always felt like that the chipset inside of the iPhone 12 and the chipset inside of the iPhone 13, those were always pretty solid. I never really had too many issues or like too many problems going on with those particular devices. Like I always felt like they performed fairly well. Didn't really have too many problems. But I will probably tell you that the iPhone 13 is probably going to be the one that is going to be the faster one here for the most part. This one is the one that makes the most amount of sense. Like if you're going to go through and pick up a device, it definitely makes a lot of sense to go and buy something like an iPhone 13, right? That one is a better, faster performing phone. And considering that the iPhone 13 was also having the same chipset as a lot of other devices too at that moment, like the iPhone 14s, in that particular situation, that's another very big thing to kind of keep in mind there as well. So I think in my personal, opinion, it definitely makes a lot of sense to go and buy something like an iPhone 13 when it comes down to it from a performance side. And honestly, from all sides considered, it definitely makes a lot more sense to buy something like an iPhone 13. That is one of those types of devices that generally does perform better. It looks pretty good, and that's the one that is going to be the one giving you better battery life, better performance, a longer lasting phone. And it's only like $70 more expensive than something like the iPhone 12. So I think in my personal opinion, right, if I'm looking at a device, it definitely does make a lot of sense to buy something like an iPhone 13. Like that type of device is giving you a better experience. I think the iPhone 12 is okay, but if you have the option of even getting a better phone, I think getting something like an iPhone 13 Pro or an iPhone 14 Pro would definitely be a way better option. And I would highly recommend buying those phones rather than these ones. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.